about the subject.
Yes.
About what holds us from our nature of being pure consciousness. What are the obstacles on the way?
What are the obstacles to?
On the way.
On the way to
enlightenment.
To enlightenment.
Yeah.
Whoa. What is enlightenment?
It's a practical question. Enlightenment, it's a state of pure being.
Okay. And that state of pure being is here. Is now.
Yes.
Right. We're just not aware of it.
Sure.
What are the obstacles? Why are we not aware of it?
Why?
Because you never cease to be there. It's not that we have lost that, and then we have to struggle, and eventually we get in there. It's not something that we are attaining after a long journey and it's somewhere out there. It's here, it's now. It's that which makes every experience possible. Now, without that, no thought, no consciousness, no feeling, no perception, nothing. When we grew up in this world, the baby still has that conscious connections more. But the intellect is not functioning. And then the poor little fellow is bombarded from the first moment onwards, always with all those ideas, how to be, how to perceive, what to do, who are you? And slowly, invariably, except a few rare exceptions, we are being sucked in that current and start to think and start to name ourselves. Little kids, they are not talking in the first person. Little kid often talks about Peter or Mary. But then we start to identify, and the more we identify, we're creating that sense of separation. It's not something that is really there. But once we start that habit and think all the time, we keep it alive by thinking all the time. And the more we are then getting sucked into that mood, me, I, and something like a wall around, what is inside is me, what is outside are all the others, the whole rest of the universe. The more that awareness disappears. Prior to all that, there's something magnificent, something that is absolutely not affected by any of this. It's never absent, but then once the attention is caught up with in that, then it's like a hypnosis. And we just keep on going. And as the years are passing, if we never stop, that is crystallizing more and more, and one can go through the whole life, never have a moment becoming where, hey, behind all that struggle, strain, frustration, worries, there's something that is always there, peaceful and joyous. The obstacle is that we are not questioning that. That we so blindly believe in that very restricted experience. And the natural movement of consciousness is to be expansive. If you live consciousness in peace, the experience will expand over itself, effortlessly. But then we're squeezing it in that little box, me, I, me, the whole day long. And of course it's a painful business. It's painful for consciousness. All we have to do to stop doing that. It's not something that we have to attain somewhere after a whole struggle. It's that by which we are functioning, that which makes you tick. That life that makes everything possible. And there is only one point you are touching that. That point is here, now. Now it's alive. Everything else is in the mind. Even the moment before, it's just a memory. It's not alive. We try to keep it alive. We pour our emotions in it, hang on to it, and create a false reality that it doesn't deserve. It's there as a memory, nothing wrong. But now, there is so totally a different quality. All that beauty, that creativity pours out of that point of where you are touching. If you bring the attention back to that present, actually you are stepping out of time. Now is timeless. The obstacles are that we are always concerned about what has happened, what's going to happen, what may happen. Oh, yesterday I was not good, was not successful. What are they thinking about me? All those worries we are turning around and round and round and round endlessly makes us miss that magnificent awareness of that beauty, the joyous, bubbling beauty of existence now. So our job is to learn not to do that anymore. And the obstacles are just the habits. If we have been doing something for some time, again and again, the pull is so strong to do it again, to be always going down the same alleys. And even if we start, we think, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to remain aware. In the present, the situations come, boom, we completely forget. Habit has its own force because of repeating things. Then it has its own momentum. And to counteract it is just to keep on and on neutralizing it. When we become aware how much the attention is absorbed in the story, the past, in the future, in whatever happened somewhere, then just one way or another, bring the attention back home and learn to relax. It's not a strainful, painful business, but that little effort, we don't get around. That little effort of reminding ourselves, hey, come back home. Become aware what a tremendous effort we are always making to keep that illusion alive. What a tremendous effort we are making all the time to make ourselves miserable. to keep all these worries in our mind, to keep that structure alive, if we stop hanging on to it, if we stop thinking about it all the time, it starts to dissolve. It's not even difficult, but we have to go about it. We don't have to learn complicated, difficult practices. If one wants to do so, perfectly all right, nothing wrong. So all the practices, they are just crutches, they are just helps to do that thing, to learn to be consciously conscious now. It's not difficult. You become aware how the attention is estranged from it, you just somehow bring it back and relax. The difficulty is to convince ourselves that it's worth the trouble. There's also that little fear in the mind. Well, if I'm just conscious, just be, then I'm losing all those little pleasant things that I'm holding on to. But actually it's the opposite. Doesn't mean you have to now go to the Himalayas and sit in a cave and not move anymore. If one feels that's what they want to do, fine. Certainly a way to go about it. But what the mind is not wanting to accept is all that little happiness that we are experiencing by running after things, grasping things, holding on to, getting little desires fulfilled, is not coming from somewhere. It's coming out of ourselves. You are the source of your own happiness. If there is a desire, then we may get all tense about it and we struggle, want to get there, fulfill that desire. When the desire is fulfilled, for a moment we let go. For a moment we are not torturing ourselves, it should be different, why I'm not getting that. We are fulfilling a desire and let go. And in that letting go, that joyousness of existence which is always present has a chance momentarily to come, at least to some extent, to the surface. Bloop, 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 it simply comes up. And then after that in the mind, we think, okay, I was so happy because this and this and this and this. And then we try to reproduce it and most of the time it doesn't work and then we are miserable again. Not understanding that that happiness we are experienced was not dependent on the situation. The situation just was according to our liking and then we were not resisting against the fact of what we are experiencing and relax. And in that relaxation, that natural joyousness that is there came to the surface. If one stops running after things all the time, thinking, I need this, I need this, I need this to be happy, to feel fulfilled, one is not losing anything. Because that's what we are looking for is here, is now. You are the source of your happiness, of that sense of fulfillment. Independent of the circumstances, independent whether the desires are fulfilled or not, independent whether the people like me or don't like me. He told me once when I'm saying it's not even difficult that is always getting a bit irritated. He said, you have struggled for so many years and now you say it's not difficult.
Exactly, you spent so many years in the cave, or what? If it is so easy.
Most of the time I spent in the cave when I struggled, when I stopped already struggling. What I mean when I say it's not difficult is what needs to be done is not difficult. To catch the attention and just be conscious here now. The difficulty may be that we overcome all the resistance we are building up in the mind. The resistance that comes out of thinking, what if I let go, then I'm losing the little happiness I have, then I'm losing the little satisfaction I have. The question, Ramana's question, is just for that. When you ask, who am I? It's not the question we have in the mind and we brood about it and who am I, who am I, who am I, and think about it and calculate and eventually we get it. It's just one way to catch the attention and bring it back to that sense of presence. There's no answer. If we start to give answers, then we are already stuck again on the intellectual level. It's a question that has no answer. It's one way of catching the attention and bringing it back home. And you are the answer. That sense of presence that is so totally familiar. Is where we have to come back to. Nobody can say, I don't know that. He has to be there to say, I don't know. And yet we cannot really define it. All definitions, they are simply pointers. Yet everybody knows so most intimately that sense of presence. When you say I, without thinking, without the story, without thinking I'm like this and like that, that and that time I was born, and there I grew up, but simply to say I. Immediately, your attention is touching something so totally familiar. That's why I'm saying it's not difficult. You just bring the attention back to that. The difficulty is to convince ourselves that it's not much more interesting to always think about things. Seems to make our mind, our life so rich that we think and think about things. It can't help about certain things we need to think. There's nothing wrong with thinking. It's a beautiful tool you have in that human experience, that we can think about things, can understand things, can act reasonably. But it's a tool that should be used where it's appropriate, and then when it's not necessary, we just put it aside. And somehow something has gone a bit wrong while growing up. That instead of using that beautiful tool where it makes sense. It has become something that starts to compulsorily go on and on and on and on. Instead of being a tool, it's the boss. And it's going on madly. The common mental sphere of humanity is sheer madness. If you stop anyone on the road and tell him, okay, now for 5 minutes, tell me every thought that goes through your mind, it's sheer madness that would come up. It's not that we're using that tool reasonably, putting one thought reasonably after the next thought about the subject. It's maybe we do that, but in between it goes zoom, 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 zoom in all directions. And most of the time we are not aware of it, and so we just feed it and go on and on and on and on. And that is what we have to learn not to do anymore. It's not that you have now to try to control your mind and not think anymore. Just learn to put the attention somewhere else. Come back to that sense of presence. And learn to relax in that. And if we do that, the thoughts will start to slow down all by themselves. And stop to create and recreate and recreate and recreate all the time that very solid structure that we call reality, when we are not and are not aware that we do create that reality all the time ourselves.